the Democracy for Citizens Party. This party stands for social democracy, economic rights, and inclusion with the tagline Skiza wa Kenya. Talk to us about this.
This is a new political party that is coming to address the current political climate of the lived experiences of Kenya. And our ideologies include what you've just said, and majorly looking at the economic injustice that Kenyans are going through, with most Kenyans living under a dollar today, and inclusion, where we have a state or a regime that has refused to listen to the voice of young people, young Kenyans. That's why we saw young Kenyans even demonstrating beginning last year in 2024 and this year, and also making sure that there is an intergenerational conversation and working together. So Democracy for the Citizen Party is a youth-led party, and we have so many young people at the neck, or the National Executive Committee, where we are legislating and driving policies that are supportive of young people and listen to young people, especially the tagline Skiza wa Kenya. It means listening to the people, listening to the ground, listening to the grassroots, and listening most especially to young people. So this is the party that's driving change, and come 2027, the elections, we are hopeful to get the government.
What about this mandate spoke to you the most for you to decide to be a part of this political party?
I ran for office in 2022, and sadly, I was unsuccessful. So, but I did not give up. I went ahead to ensure that political participation of young women is very central in politics in Kenya today. And when I heard of this new party that was being formed, I shared my interest of leading the youth league, and I had this vision for young people and how we can transform Kenya as young people who bear solutions, contextualized solutions of our own country. And after going through, the interviews, I was appointed as the youth league leader. And together with my party leader, whom I'm going through under immense mentorship, as charting the way forward in ensuring that the young people of Kenya are the one with a voice, will participate in 2027 elections by running for office, by being grassroots mobilizers, by becoming observers and agents, and above all by negotiating into the leadership positions that we are going to have in 2027.
Before all of that, let's go back a bit. When you got your BA degree in sociology and communication, was this the path that was clear to you to take from early on?
Not really. When I became a social scientist, I wanted to understand societies and be able to tell the African story right. But as I was in university, I started interacting with campus politics, and you see, from then on, as I got into various leadership positions, I realized that truly my ambition is to lead. And with the background of social sciences, it helped me understand law and society. It helped me understand human beings and the interconnectedness with the society, and which has been really helpful for me. Because now not only do I lead from a place of passion, but it's also from a place of, education background.
And part of that background also is that you've done French language studies. And then in
Yeah.
2020, you pursued a postgraduate degree with a Master of Arts in Development Communication. How has all of this contributed to your visions and goals in the space of public affairs and social matters?
Unfortunately, I don't speak French anymore. I don't practice, and if you don't practice, then you're not able to speak very well. Je parle un peu français. I speak quite little French,
Mm.
but French studies was critical in my communication background, because I've spent a lot of work working around women rights space, and youth rights space, and I used my social sciences background to write to write and communicate on behalf of the youth and the women communities. So I had a very special skill that was gender communications, and that's how I've been able to understand the pain points of the youth and the women communities, and be able to push for their rights, being able to train young people to help them understand how can you negotiate for spaces, how can you be able to participate in governance, good governance and accountability activities within our counties, within our country, and how can we push for ourselves as a whole community of young people. So this my background, my educational background, has been able to package me as a astute leader who's not only gone through education background but also gone through capacity strengthening initiatives, like with the Nala Fem, with the women feminist leadership capacity building in Uganda, and also even in Germany, learning, the peace processes. It's just a way to strengthen my capacity as a leader so that I'm able to lead from a place also of foresight, and be able to plan for the future, and also being able to pick the best talent and brains of young people in Kenya so that we can be able to forge a conclusive way forward. And also for negotiation. Like in 2022, as young people were able to negotiate for a ministry that was a standalone for young people that will just address young people's issues. So this has been very helpful for me as a young leader in Kenya.
What does leadership mean to you? And then what does youth leadership add to that narrative?
Leadership for me means loving your people. The best example was Jesus Christ in the Bible. He loved his people, and that's how he led. He was the best leader because he loved his people. So, leadership for me means loving people and guiding them towards a unified goal. It's also participatory, because if leadership is not participatory, then you won't be able to represent people. You'll have your own imagination of what people want and push for it. But if leadership is participatory, then you're able to lead, to guide people towards what they truly want to see, or what they want and their needs. And for me, as a young leader, and watching what other leaders in Kenya have done before me, there are those who have truly admired and learned from them, but there are those also who have seen who they are and what they are, and not want to become it. So also through mentorship, but also let me talk about peer mentorship, because we truly underestimate the power of peer leadership and peer mentorship, and it's truly shaped into the leader I am today. And as young women in Kenya, young women in leadership, we've truly put our best foot forward. And at Parliament today, we only have 6% of young women in leadership in Parliament. So for us, for me, especially as the youth league leader, is to ensure young women are able to get party tickets so that we can be able to raise the numbers in Parliament in 2027.
It's just gone past 8:15 Central African time. We are in conversation with Wanjiku Thiga, who is a Kenyan youth activist, the National Youth Caucus Chairperson for the Democracy for the Citizens Party, if you've just joined us here on Rise and Shine as Channel Africa. Not much is reported, Wanjiku, about your childhood life and your family life. Is that something that is intentional, that information is not out there? And if so, why?
Um, Really, maybe not, because I haven't thought about it really, but mainly, in Africa, we truly speak about ourselves post high school. So that's why there's not much of my childhood, but I am a firstborn of seven. I usually say being a firstborn in Africa needs to be part of your CV. I think that's where even leadership begins. So I'm a firstborn of seven, and from my mom, who's a widow and who has taken great courage to work with me as a young woman in politics, because the political space in Kenya, especially right now, is very violent. Therefore, it demands a lot of courage.
Let's talk women now. From youth, we've touched a bit on that, but we'll come back to the youth. You have a specialized course in women and leadership, power, identity, and influence, completed not so long ago in 2022. In this current world, what challenges have you noted women in leadership face that are unique to those in leadership in general?
I would say embracing women in leadership, especially from an African lens, has been quite a steep hill to climb. Africa is quite patriarchal, and Kenya is no exception. Women have always been viewed best place in the kitchen. But we see women leading in churches, women leading business. Why can't women be allowed to in leadership, in the leadership and political spaces? I would speak to specifically my example as a young woman who is leading the youth league in a very big political party in Kenya. Many people walk in and very shocked to find it's a young woman who's leading the youth league. They expected a man to be able to be the one leading the youth league, not only a man, even an older man. So not only is the women's space compounded, but we even have the ageism coming into play. So I will speak about also not embracing feminist leadership. And we've seen feminist leadership being a very centered and critical tool to leadership because it promotes empathy, it promotes community-centered governance, it promotes, accountability. And for me, what it has supported me is to be able to have a very important gender lens while I program at the Youth League. And another issue I will also speak to, it's, being underestimated. People truly ignore your presence or love to ignore. Therefore, you have to assert yourself and even at times be aggressive because the political space of actually politics has never been created for a space for women. And what we are trying to do right now is to feminize the political space so that young people, young women are able to thrive. You find, especially right now, there's a lot of violence on campaign trails, on political meetings, and you see with violence that makes a lot of women withdraw. And today, especially speaking to the Kenyan context, we have a lot of goon politics. By goons, I mean men who are actually paid to come disrupt meetings using, violence. They have, they're armed. And that means that a lot of women will run away from such a space. Therefore, I find this space still being get kept by men, but we are here still fighting for that space, and we're not leaving. I will also speak about also myself being abducted, arrested, dearrested. You
Yeah.
see,
We'll,
it
we'll touch on that.
also
I just want to touch also
okay.
before we get there the Gears for Change initiative in Kiambu County that you founded. Talk to us about this platform and how you tackle issues of gender equality through it.
This is a community-based organization that came out of an urgent need of representation by women and young people in my community. And what we do, especially when it comes to matters of gender equality, is on gender budgeting in our counties. In our counties, we usually have the budget processes, and it's to educate and educate our community how we can participate on community budgeting processes so that we are able to address the issues that are in our communities. Be it at the dispensary, you find sometimes that we have the maternity wing not adequately, equipped. And if women are complaining, then I do the best to explain to them how can we use, because our taxes are used to, fund counties and these budgets within the counties. How can we engage our counties? How can we engage the budgeting processes so that it can take care of our needs? As young people, how are we ensuring that the money at the counties are addressing our needs as young people? We not only just want money for sports, but funding for young businesses. We talk about also business permits and licenses. Are they too high that young people are not able to run businesses? So ensuring that communities understand and are engaged with good governance and gender equality, because they are very interconnected. And above all, also training our communities that, women leadership should be at the front, because when women lead with empathy, women lead with a lot of foresight, and that's why they're also supposed to participate. Therefore, it's also a grassroots campaign where it's he for she, getting male champions who champion for women leadership. And it's from a lived experience from when I was running for office in 2022. And there are spaces I couldn't access because I was a young woman. And even further, I was unmarried. Well, still I am, but I was unmarried and I couldn't access some spaces just because I was a woman. So to ensure that women are able to penetrate every space a man can, and are able to negotiate for their, for their bids for leadership at the end of the day, and engage, community gatekeepers such as the pastors, the religious leaders, the security officials. In Kenya, we have things called Nyumba Kumi. It's a community policing program, and, talking to, the administrative systems to push for leadership for both women and men.
Speaking of lived experience, and to your point made earlier, you were arrested in July of this year for allegedly organizing protests in Kenya, then later freed by a court in Kiambu on bail. Talk to us about how that day started for you and your account of events during these countrywide protests.
Thank you for that question. It's a very, it was a trying time for me. Speaking on the Kiambu incidents, that was the second time being abducted and arrested. Some people call it arrested. I call it abduction because I was grabbed after after leaving court. I had just been granted bail in bond, and I knew I had secured my freedom and I'll be able to have a chance to fight for myself. Therefore, just to give a background, you see, in 2024, June 25th, young people went to the streets because they were tired of being unheard. They were tired of a regime that promised young people heaven but gave them hell. And young people went to streets to protest the blatant corruption that was ongoing in Kenya and still is. And on 25th, on this year, on 25th June, I also went out to have a memorial for young people. The state has always and forever ignored and never admitted that they killed over 60 young people on 2024 Faithful Day. Therefore, for us this year, I went out like every young person to memorize the young people who were killed. Therefore, I was arrested because I am a young leader at a national platform. I was arrested and I was told that I organized guns, over 1,000 guns, to destroy law courts in my constituency and to destroy police stations, which was untrue. I did not organize such things. I went out as every young person to memorize young people. And on that fateful day when I left court, and there were heavy trumped up charges that were put on me on matters, me being in possession of a firearm, which was untrue, that I organized the things I've said before, and that I also did robbery with violence. Truly, that is unfair and untrue, because I'm a peace-loving Kenyan and all I do is exercise my constitutional right. So once I left the court and I was processed and left the station, I was heavily grabbed by DCI officers, and there were about 8. And each of them was pulling me to their side. My clothes were torn, and they were taking me to an unknown location. And I remember my lawyer, a fellow young person, my lawyer, who's a very young man, was holding on to me because he knew should they take me, anything can happen to me. And let me be honest, I knew that day they carried me, they are going to kill me. They have a record of killing young people in this country, and being an outspoken young person who openly speaks of who openly dissents this regime will face same violence. So when I was taken, I fought, but unfortunately, because there were many, there were about 8, and I remember I managed to hit one with my foot and he fell. But we left as 7 people. There was a car waiting for me, and I was taken away. I was taken away to a safe house. I didn't know where they were taking me. I had already resigned to fate that I was going to be killed, but fortunately I wasn't killed. But I slept 2 days without anyone knowing where I was, and that means then I went back to court. I was taken back to court, but now on a heavy charge, and now I'm facing terrorism charges in my country, which is very unfortunate because I am not a terrorist.
I want to thank you for sharing that part of your story because as you speak, I mean, we can feel the emotion behind all of that. It can't be easy for you to have to relive that, for us as the media to relate the story and to also put exposure to this particular part of your life journey. So, for that bravery and strength in being able to talk to us through it, thank you so much for that. We are completely, well, not completely, but almost out of time. But there's so many things to touch on as far as what you've achieved and done. And before we let you go, I just want to touch on this particular questions in terms of the lessons that you think Kenya's law enforcement needs to take from, excuse me, global strategies as far as you are, as far as you believe. You've trained in Germany on nonviolence and armed conflict. What can you take from what you were exposed there that you believe law enforcement in Kenya can take away?
You see, I spent 3 weeks away in cells, and I was in fact taken to a maximum security prison also for about a week. So being away for 4 weeks, it gave me time to really think, reflect from the training I had in Germany. And, it is about, nonviolent actions. And I was facing violence. And I asked myself truly, how fair is it that I'm fighting violence with nonviolent, ways? And I've come to truly accept that it can work. What I'm saying is, actions such as justice, giving justice to young people, is something that I'm asking our forces to apply, because that's also a nonviolent action. And when you give people justice, like for me, if I got justice because I've been unfairly charged. If the young people who were killed, they were given justice by having the people who killed them brought to account. The government right now is talking about compensation, but compensation must come after, justice. Therefore, justice is a non-violent action that truly can mend ways, and transitional, reconciliation measures are a way of bridging the divide that the state right now is going through with young people. That is also another nonviolent action that we can use. Therefore, for me, is to urge our state to give justice to young people. The people who killed these young people, actually, we saw them. We have videos of them. We have them, their pictures. And also, some have not even been brought to book. So if those actions are made, then families can start, healing, and the process of grieving can be made even better. And even dropping terrorism charges on people like me, who truly we are not terrorists, but people who love their country and exercise in their constitutions.
Wanjiku, we are
That is
completely
what
out
I'll
of time
ask.
now. I have to thank you again for your time and your bravery. And on to the 2027 elections. I'm sure we'll be catching up before that time.
Yes. I'm happy to be here with you again. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Wanjiku Thiga is National Youth Caucus Chairperson for the Democracy for the Citizens Party, or DCP, Nala Fellow, and Africa Women's Leadership Institute Fellow. Doing amazing things, she is. 8:31 Central African Time. Let's get our news headlines. Here's Onel Nzinzi.